Ladies and gentlemen, imagine for a moment a tiny drop of water falling relentlessly on a solid rock. At first, it seems meaningless. It seems too small to matter. Yet, day after day, drop after drop, that water carves its path through stone. That, my friends, is the essence of consistency. It is not the flash of brilliance, the grand gestures, or the one-time leaps that change lives. It is the daily, determined commitment to showing up, to doing the work, to taking that small step forward even when you don't see the mountain moving. Key point number 1 revolves around the transformative power of small, repeated actions and how they compound over time to produce extraordinary results. Many people underestimate the influence of tiny, consistent efforts because they look for instant gratification or monumental breakthroughs, assuming that success must come from a single heroic action. The truth is far more subtle and far more powerful. Real progress is often invisible in the moment, but it accumulates relentlessly, shaping outcomes in ways that feel almost magical in hindsight. Consider a person who decides to dedicate just 15 minutes a day to learning a new skill. On the surface, 15 minutes seems insignificant, hardly worth noticing. Yet over the course of a month, that amounts to over 7 hours of focused practice. Over a year, it becomes more than 90 hours, and in 3 years, nearly 300 hours of deliberate effort. That's the compound effect of small, repeated actions, seemingly trivial on a daily basis, yet capable of producing mastery over time. Consistency transforms potential energy into kinetic results, much like water gradually eroding stone. Each small action carries within it the seed of exponential growth, and the key is to recognize that the journey, rather than the individual moment, determines the outcome. The paradox of consistency is that it requires patience and faith in the process, because the results are rarely immediate. People often give up too soon because they judge progress by instant feedback, failing to see the cumulative impact of their daily choices. Yet every small step taken with intention is a deposit in the bank of future success, compounding silently and steadily until it manifests in a way that feels almost inevitable. This principle applies to every facet of life: personal development, health, relationships, business, and creativity. Someone who writes a single paragraph every day will eventually complete a book. Someone who saves a modest amount regularly will accumulate significant wealth. Someone who trains a few minutes daily will achieve remarkable physical or mental transformation. The magic of small steps lies not only in what they create externally, but also in how they shape character and discipline internally. Every repeated action reinforces habits, strengthens resolve, and builds a foundation for even greater achievements. It is not the grand, sporadic efforts that define success, but the consistent, disciplined movement forward. The key is to embrace the rhythm of repetition, to trust the process, and to recognize that each small action, though invisible today, is steadily building momentum and laying the groundwork for profound transformation that accumulates silently, persistently, and inevitably over time. Key point number 2 emphasizes how consistency builds momentum and transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary outcomes. Momentum is a powerful force in life, yet it rarely appears suddenly. It is cultivated gradually through repeated, disciplined actions. When you commit to consistent behavior, no matter how small, you begin to create a ripple effect that propels you forward. Each step you take, no matter how modest, adds energy to your journey, making the next step easier and the next challenge more manageable. This is why consistent action is far more potent than occasional bursts of effort. A single, intense push may get you moving, but it rarely sustains progress. Momentum, once established, becomes self-reinforcing. The more you act, the more confidence you build, the more clarity emerges, and the more capable you feel of achieving even bigger goals. Ordinary efforts, when applied consistently, compound over time, transforming seemingly small habits into extraordinary outcomes that often exceed initial expectations. Consider the athlete who trains daily, the entrepreneur who dedicates time each day to their craft, or the student who studies a little each day rather than cramming sporadically. Initially, progress may appear slow or even imperceptible, but over weeks, months, and years, the accumulation of consistent effort produces a level of skill, competence, and achievement that surprises even the person putting in the work. Momentum also affects mindset. When you act consistently, you reinforce a sense of purpose and discipline. You develop trust in yourself and your ability to follow through, which fuels further action. This psychological reinforcement is as crucial as the tangible results, because it reduces hesitation, combats procrastination, and strengthens resilience against setbacks. The transformation from ordinary effort to extraordinary results is rarely dramatic or immediate. It is a subtle, persistent force that quietly reshapes your life. By committing to small, repeated actions, you tap into a system of natural amplification, where each step forward makes the next step easier, each habit strengthens your capability, and each victory, no matter how minor, adds fuel to the fire of progress. Over time, this cumulative momentum can carry you far beyond what initial effort alone could achieve. It is not luck or talent that produces remarkable outcomes, but the steady application of effort, repeated consistently with focus and intention, creating a compounding effect that amplifies results far beyond what any single action could produce. Those who understand this principle recognize that success is not an event, but a process, and that consistency is the engine that drives ordinary actions into extraordinary results. Key point number 3 focuses on the mindset shift required to embrace progress over perfection and to celebrate small wins along the journey. One of the greatest obstacles to consistency is the unrealistic expectation that every effort must be flawless, or that immediate results must be monumental. When people chase perfection, they often procrastinate, hesitate, or abandon their efforts entirely, believing that if it's not perfect, it's not worth doing. The truth is that perfection is an illusion, and waiting for it guarantees stagnation. True progress comes from action, from showing up consistently, and from learning and adjusting along the way. Each small step forward, no matter how imperfect, contributes to long-term growth and ultimately shapes the trajectory of success. Celebrating small wins is not about settling for mediocrity. It's about acknowledging progress and using it as fuel to keep moving. When you recognize and honor your incremental achievements, you create positive reinforcement that strengthens motivation, builds confidence, and cultivates resilience. Small victories accumulate into larger ones, and the sense of accomplishment they generate creates momentum that propels you forward even when challenges arise. This mindset shift requires a conscious choice to value effort over immediate outcome, to focus on what you can control, the actions you take today, rather than obsessing over distant results that are often influenced by variables beyond your control. Progress over perfection also allows you to embrace mistakes as part of the journey. Every misstep, every failure, and every imperfection carries a lesson that, when applied consistently, accelerates growth and improvement. By viewing challenges as feedback rather than judgment, you maintain the consistency necessary to achieve meaningful results. This approach transforms the way you engage with goals, habits, and personal development. Instead of being paralyzed by fear of inadequacy, you move forward, intention, taking imperfect action consistently, knowing that each step matters. It also nurtures patience, as you come to understand that meaningful outcomes are rarely instantaneous. By focusing on progress and celebrating small wins, you reinforce the value of daily effort, the power of cumulative action, and the importance of perseverance. Over time, this mindset creates a compounding effect. Confidence grows, resilience strengthens, skills deepen, and results multiply in ways that exceed expectations. People who master this perspective learn to measure success not by a single outcome, but by the trajectory of consistent progress, understanding that extraordinary results are the natural consequence of persistent, deliberate action taken with a mindset oriented toward growth and achievement. Key point number 4 revolves around overcoming resistance, procrastination, and the temptation to quit when results are not immediate. One of the greatest challenges in maintaining consistency is the natural human tendency to seek quick rewards and avoid discomfort. When progress is slow or invisible, it is easy to feel frustrated, discouraged, or even convinced that the effort is futile. This is the critical moment where many give up, abandoning their goals just before a breakthrough is within reach. Resistance takes many forms. It can appear as procrastination, distraction, self-doubt, or the belief that today's small actions don't matter. The key to overcoming it is understanding that resistance is not a signal to stop, but a sign that you are moving in the direction that matters. Every step forward, even when it feels difficult or unrewarding, chips away at inertia and builds the momentum necessary for long-term success. Procrastination, in particular, is a subtle thief of progress. It disguises itself as rational thinking, convincing you that the task can wait or that you'll perform better tomorrow. But each delay weakens momentum and makes starting again more challenging. Developing the discipline to act despite discomfort, uncertainty, or fear is what separates those who achieve extraordinary results from those who merely dream about them. It requires cultivating habits and routines that make consistent action automatic, reducing the reliance on motivation alone, which is fleeting and unreliable. Another critical aspect is learning to tolerate delayed results. Success rarely manifests instantly. It accumulates gradually from repeated deliberate actions. Those who abandon their efforts prematurely often fail to see the compounding effects of their persistence. Embracing patience and trusting the process allows you to continue showing up even when progress seems invisible. Mindset plays a central role here. By reframing resistance as an opportunity to strengthen discipline and resilience, setbacks transform into stepping stones rather than roadblocks. Self-talk becomes vital. Reminding yourself that small, consistent actions are building toward a larger outcome reinforces determination and helps you persevere. Additionally, accountability, whether through mentors, peers, or personal tracking, can provide structure and motivation to maintain consistency. Overcoming the temptation to quit also involves celebrating incremental progress. Recognizing that every effort, no matter how small, is part of a larger journey keeps morale high and reinforces the habit of persistence. By facing resistance head-on, acting despite procrastination, and embracing the patience required for delayed gratification, you equip yourself with the tools necessary to maintain consistency, build momentum, and ultimately achieve the remarkable results that others often abandon just out of reach. Key point number 5 highlights the ripple effect of consistency and how small, disciplined steps influence every area of life while inspiring those around you. When you commit to showing up day after day, not only do you create tangible results in the areas you focus on, but you also send a powerful signal to yourself and to others that discipline, persistence, and dedication matter. Consistency becomes contagious. When people witness your steady effort and unwavering commitment, they are inspired to elevate their own actions and adopt habits that lead to growth and improvement. The impact of consistent action is rarely confined to a single domain. It spills over into relationships, health, work, and personal development. By choosing to act consistently, you model the principles of reliability, responsibility, and focus, demonstrating that success is not a matter of luck or sudden bursts of effort, but of repeated, intentional steps over time. In relationships, for instance, consistent attention, care, and communication build trust and deepen bonds, showing that small, regular gestures matter more than occasional grand displays. In professional life, consistent performance enhances credibility, fosters opportunities, and strengthens the foundation for long-term achievement. Even in personal growth, the daily practice of small habits, reading, exercising, reflecting, or learning, accumulates to produce profound transformation, often exceeding what sporadic efforts could achieve. Beyond the practical outcomes, consistency cultivates character. It reinforces qualities like patience, resilience, and integrity, which naturally influence every area of life. People who act consistently develop self-discipline that carries over into decision-making, problem-solving, and emotional regulation. They are less swayed by temporary setbacks or external circumstances because their entity becomes aligned with action and perseverance. Furthermore, the ripple effect extends beyond the individual to the community. Your dedication can inspire colleagues, friends, or family members to adopt their own consistent practices, creating a culture of accountability, growth, and excellence. This is why the most impactful leaders, innovators, and changemakers often emphasize habits and daily discipline. They understand that lasting influence is built on repeated, intentional effort rather than occasional brilliance. Each small step you take is like a pebble dropped into a pond. The waves extend far beyond the initial action, touching people and opportunities in ways that may not be immediately visible. By embracing consistency, you tap into this multiplier effect, leveraging your daily efforts to create meaningful impact across multiple dimensions of life. The cumulative power of these disciplined steps demonstrates that extraordinary results are rarely the product of isolated moments, but of persistent, focused action that transforms both the individual and the world around them.